The alien warrior pointed his weapon at the crying woman. Human weakness detected. Eliminate her. But then something impossible happened. 8 alien cubs, bred from birth to be killing machines, rushed forward and placed their favorite toys at her feet. The smallest cub, with claws that could cut steel, looked up at its own commander and said its first words ever. "No hurt, sad lady. We fix her heart hurt." The entire space station went silent. Because these cubs had no word for comfort in their language. They just invented it. Just one thing before we begin. YouTube tells me 99.3% of you watching aren't subscribed. Subscribing is free. It really supports the channel and you'll get more amazing HFY sci-fi stories delivered straight to you. Don't miss out. Lily Chen sat on the cold metal floor of Storage Bay 12, crying harder than she'd ever cried in her life. 5 minutes ago she'd gotten the message from Earth. Her mother was dead. 12 light years away, and Lily couldn't even go to the funeral. She was just a janitor on Space Station Omega 7, mopping floors and cleaning alien bathrooms. The pay was good enough to send money home for her mom's medical bills. But now those bills didn't matter anymore. Lily didn't notice the red warning lights flashing. She didn't hear the sirens screaming through the station. And she definitely didn't know that 8 Krellian hunter cubs had escaped from their maximum security cage. The Krellians were the galaxy's most feared predators. Even their babies were dangerous. These 8 cubs were being shipped to a military training center where they'd be turned into weapons. Each cub had fangs that could bite through metal, claws like knives, and instincts programmed for killing. They should have attacked Lily immediately. She was alone, crying, weak, everything that triggered a Krellian's hunting instincts. But they didn't attack. The first cub, covered in scars from training fights, approached slowly. In its mouth, it carried something strange, a bloody piece of metal it had won in yesterday's combat practice. Its most prized possession. The cub carefully placed the metal at Lily's feet, then backed away. The second cub brought a piece of torn blanket from their cage, the softest thing they had. The third brought a bone from their last meal. One by one, all 8 cubs brought their treasures and laid them in front of the crying human. Guard Captain Rex burst into the storage bay with his security team, weapons raised. "Get away from the human," he shouted. But then he stopped, confused. His scanner was showing impossible readings. "Sir," his lieutenant whispered, "the cubs aren't attacking. They're giving her gifts." "That's impossible," Rex said. "Krellians don't give. They only take." But there they were, 8 deadly predator cubs, sitting in a circle around Lily, making soft sounds nobody had ever heard before. Not growls or snarls, but something almost like purring? Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's alien biology expert, came running with her equipment. She scanned the cubs and nearly dropped her tablet. This can't be right. Their aggression centers, the parts of their brains that control hunting, they're completely shut down. "What do you mean shut down?" Rex demanded. "I mean they're not functioning. Instead, other parts of their brains are lighting up, parts that shouldn't even exist in Krellians. These are empathy centers. They're feeling her sadness." Lily finally noticed the cubs through her tears. She should have been terrified. These were monsters that killed for fun. But all she saw were 8 young creatures with big eyes, watching her with what looked like concern. "Thank you, little ones," she whispered, not really understanding what was happening. She reached out and gently touched the nearest cub's head. "I know you don't understand, but thank you." The touched cub's whole body changed in that instant. Its eyes, usually red with aggression, turned soft blue. It began making a new sound, something between a purr and a lullaby. The other cubs joined in, creating a harmony that shouldn't be possible from creatures without music in their culture. Captain Rex tried to pull Lily away, but the cubs formed a protective wall around her. Not aggressive, just protective. Like they were saying, "She needs us right now. We have to get her out," Rex said. "Their parents will be here soon, and adult Krellians don't show mercy." But Lily wasn't listening. She was looking at the gifts the cubs had brought. A piece of metal, a torn blanket, a bone. To them these were treasures. And they'd given them to her because she was sad. When I was little, Lily said softly, and I was sad, my mom would bring me my teddy bear. She'd say that sometimes when words don't help, a soft toy can make things better. Her voice broke. These babies are trying to make things better. Dr. Kim's scanners were going crazy. Captain, you need to see this. The cub's DNA is actually changing. Genes that have been dormant for millions of years are suddenly activating. They're evolving in real time. The smallest cub crawled into Lily's lap. It weighed about 50 pounds and its scales were rough, but it was trying so hard to be gentle. It looked up at her and made sounds like it was trying to speak. Sad. No, it managed to say. Its throat wasn't designed for human speech, but it was trying anyway. Fix, hurt. They're learning our language? Rex couldn't believe it. That's impossible. Krellian cubs don't develop speech for another 10 years. But all 8 cubs were trying now. Lady, cry, we, help. Their voices were rough and broken, but the meaning was clear. They wanted to help. Dr. Kim had a theory. Human emotions might be triggering something in them. Something their species lost long ago. Before they became predators, Krellians might have been social creatures. These cubs are remembering what they used to be. The cubs started searching the storage bay for better gifts. They seemed to understand that bloody metal and bones weren't comforting to humans. One found some soft packing material. Another found a colorful piece of cloth. They brought these new offerings to Lily, watching her face to see if these were better. They're learning, Dr. Kim said in amazement. They're figuring out what humans find comforting. This level of emotional intelligence shouldn't be possible for them. Suddenly the bay doors burst open. 3 adult Krellians entered, the cubs' parents. They were 9 feet tall, covered in battle scars with teeth like swords. Commander Vex, the leader, saw his cubs surrounding a crying human and roared in rage. What is this weakness? He bellowed. You dare to show mercy to prey? The scarred cub stood up and faced his father. In broken words mixing Krellian growls and human speech he said, not prey, friend. Hurt inside. We fix. Krellians don't have friends. Vex snarled. We have prey and rivals, nothing else. But the smallest cub, Vex's daughter, looked at her father with eyes that had developed tear ducts in the last 10 minutes. Sad you. When mother died. Sad, but not a loud cry. The room went completely silent. Commander Vex's mate had died 3 years ago in battle. He'd been forbidden from showing any emotion about it. Krellian culture said grief was weakness. I am not weak, Vex said, but his voice shook. Not weak, his daughter said. Sad is okay. Lily, teach us. Lily stood up, still holding the smallest cub. She faced the massive alien warriors without fear. Her mother was dead and nothing they did could make that worse. Your cubs aren't broken, she said. They're just learning something your species forgot. That it's okay to feel. That it's okay to care. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit you're hurting. Commander Vex raised his weapon. The High Command is coming. They will destroy these defective cubs. Then they'll have to destroy me too, Lily said. Because I won't let you hurt them for showing kindness. The cubs surrounded Lily again, but this time they faced outward, protecting her from their own parents. 8 tiny predators, ready to fight the entire Krellian Empire for a janitor they'd known for 30 minutes. Dr. Kim stepped forward with her data. Commander, look at these readings. Your cubs haven't become weaker. Their intelligence has increased by 300%. Their problem-solving abilities are off the charts. They're stronger because they can feel, not weaker. Emotional intelligence enhances tactical thinking, she continued. They can predict enemy behavior better because they understand feelings. They can work as a team because they care about each other. Your cubs are evolving into something better than pure predators. The station's alarms blared again. The Krellian High Command had arrived, 5 massive warships full of the Empire's leaders, coming to evaluate the contaminated cubs. High Commander Zarek entered the bay, his presence making everyone step back. He was ancient, scarred from 1,000 battles, and had personally killed anyone who showed weakness in his presence. He looked at the scene, his species cubs comforting a crying human, and his expression was unreadable. Then the impossible happened. The smallest cub walked up to him, looked the most feared warrior in the galaxy in the eyes and asked, "You ever cry?" "Warriors don't cry," Zarek said automatically. "But want to?" the cub pressed. "When alone? When no one see?" Zarek was silent for a long moment. Then, so quietly almost no one heard, he said, "When my son died in training. When he was too young and they made him fight. I wanted to cry." The cub reached up and took the High Commander's massive clawed hand in her tiny one. Now. We all cry together. And then, for the first time in recorded history, a Krellian warrior cried. It started as a single tear, then more. 50 years of suppressed grief pouring out. The cubs surrounded him, offering the same comfort they'd given Lily. They brought their little treasures, the soft cloth, the packing material, and placed them at his feet. Other Krellian adults began to crack. Warriors who'd lost friends, parents who'd lost cubs, all the grief they'd been forbidden to feel. The emotional dam broke completely. "What have you done to us?" Commander Vex asked Lily, but he was crying too. "Nothing," Lily said. "Your cubs did it. They saw me crying and decided to help. That's all. They chose compassion over conquest." Dr. Kim's equipment was recording everything. This is going out on all channels. Every species in the galaxy is watching the Krellians discover empathy. Within minutes, reports flooded in from across space. Vorton cubs were comforting scared children instead of hunting them. Zephyrin younglings were sharing food instead of fighting over it. All across the galaxy, predator species young were choosing kindness after seeing the footage of the Krellian cubs. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered, all reporting the same phenomenon. Their young were developing empathy after exposure to human emotion. Lily was brought before the council, still in her janitor uniform, tear stains on her face. The 8 cubs refused to leave her side. "Explain what you've done," the council president demanded. "I didn't do anything," Lily said. "I was just sad about my mom." The cubs decided to help. "They brought me their toys because that's what you do when someone's sad, you try to make them feel better." "She showed us feelings are not weakness," the scarred cub said, his speech much better now. "Feelings make us stronger. We protect her because we care. Caring makes us better fighters, better thinkers, better beings." The council voted unanimously to establish the Chen Protocol, named after Lily's mother. It recognized emotional expression as evolution, not weakness. Across the galaxy, species began teaching their young that it was okay to feel. The cubs formed the first interspecies comfort corps. They volunteered to help anyone who was grieving, regardless of species. "No one cries alone anymore," they promised. 6 months passed. Storage Bay 12 was transformed into the Center for Emotional Evolution. The walls were covered with photos of loved ones, starting with Lily's mother. It became a place where beings from across the galaxy came to grieve and heal together. The 8 cubs grew rapidly, their emotional development accelerating all their growth. They became certified counselors, the first predator species to earn such credentials. But they still called Lily Mom, and helped her with her janitor duties. "Cleaning is therapeutic," Lily would say, teaching young beings from dozens of species. "Taking care of something, maintaining it with love, it helps process feelings." The Krellian Empire changed completely. Military bases added crying rooms. Schools taught emotional intelligence alongside combat. The suicide rate, hidden for centuries, dropped to almost nothing as warriors learned to process trauma. Commander Vex visited monthly, bringing new cubs to learn. "You saved us from ourselves," he told Lily. "We were dying inside and we didn't even know it." "Your cubs saved you," Lily corrected. "They chose love over violence. They chose to help instead of hurt. I just happened to be sad at the right time." 1 year after that first day, the galaxy held a memorial for Lily's mother. Billions of beings observed a moment of silence for the woman whose death had triggered the greatest evolutionary leap in history. Lily stood before a crowd of thousands on the station, holding her mother's photo. The 8 cubs, now young adults, stood beside her. "My mom always said that feelings are meant to be felt, not fixed," Lily said. "She said that crying isn't weakness, it's just your heart overflowing." The cubs understood that better than most humans. The scarred cub, now named Hope, stepped forward. "1 year ago we found Lily crying. We didn't understand sadness, but we knew she needed help. So we brought our toys, our treasures. We did what seemed right. Now," he continued, "across the galaxy no child grows up forbidden to cry. No parent loses a child and grieves alone. No being suffers in silence. Because Lily Chen's tears taught us that shared sorrow is lighter, and shared joy is brighter." The crowd erupted in applause and tears. Happy tears, sad tears, all kinds of tears. Species that had never cried were crying freely. A small Zephyrin child tugged on Lily's uniform. She was holding a broken toy and crying. Without hesitation, the 8 cubs surrounded her, offering their own toys, their soft cloths, their presents. They demonstrated what they'd learned, that sometimes the best comfort isn't words but just being there. "Thank you," the child's parents said to Lily. "Before your cubs she would have been punished for crying. Now she gets comfort." Lily knelt down to the child's level. "It's okay to be sad about broken things. We can try to fix it or we can be sad together. Both are okay." The ceremony ended with the cubs performing their comfort protocol, a series of movements they developed that transcended species barriers. A gentle touch, a soft sound, an offering of something precious, presence without judgment. As beings dispersed, Lily returned to her mop and bucket. They were covered in decorations now, gifts from 1,000 worlds. Soft things from grateful parents. Toys from comforted children. Crystallized tears from species learning to cry. The cubs helped her clean as they always did. It had become a ritual, maintaining the space where the galaxy learned to feel. "Mom," the smallest cub said, they all called her Mom now. "Do you think your mother knows what her death started?" Lily smiled through fresh tears. She cried easily now and nobody thought it was weakness. "I think she'd be amazed. One woman's death taught a galaxy how to grieve. And more importantly, how to comfort." A new alert came through. A cargo ship had arrived with young from a warrior species nobody had seen before. They were aggressive, violent, and supposedly incapable of emotion. "Should we go meet them?" Hope asked. "Of course," Lily said. "Get your toys. We have work to do." The 8 cubs gathered their comfort supplies, soft things, small treasures, items that said "you're not alone" without words. They followed Lily to the docking bay, ready to teach another species that strength and kindness weren't opposites. The new arrivals were locked in cages, snarling and snapping at anyone who came close. Their handlers warned that they were extremely dangerous, even as infants. Lily approached slowly and the cubs followed. One of the new younglings was separated from the others, making sounds that its handlers called aggression vocalization. But Lily heard something else. After a year of listening to transformed predators, she recognized the sound. It wasn't aggression. It was loneliness. "Hey there," she said softly, sitting down far enough away to be safe but close enough to be heard. "You miss your family, don't you?" The youngling stopped snarling and stared at her. Its species didn't have tear ducts, but something in its eyes shifted. Hope stepped forward and placed his favorite toy, a soft blue cloth Lily had given him that first day, where the youngling could reach it. "For you," Hope said simply. "For when the hurt is too big for words." The youngling touched the cloth with one claw, then pulled it close. The snarling stopped completely. Within minutes, all the new younglings were holding toys, listening to the cubs explain that feelings weren't weakness but strength in a different form. And so it continues, Lily said to herself, watching another species begin its emotional evolution. Mom, your legacy isn't just tears. It's a universe learning that everybody needs somebody sometimes. The transformation spread further each day. Military academies taught the Comfort Protocol alongside combat training. Hospitals hired emotional support teams from reformed predator species. The galaxy's crime rate plummeted as beings learned to process emotions instead of suppressing them. But the most beautiful change was the simplest. No one cried alone anymore. In a universe that had valued strength over sentiment, 8 cubs had proven that the strongest thing anyone could do was care for someone in pain. You know what the funny thing is? Lily said to the cubs one evening as they cleaned together. You brought me your toys to cheer me up. But really you gave me something much bigger. What? They asked in unison. You gave me family. You gave me purpose. You gave me proof that love exists everywhere, even in the most unlikely places. The cubs purred, a sound that had become common on the station. You gave us something too, Mom. You gave us permission to feel. To be more than weapons. To be people. As night fell on the station, artificial night but still, Lily looked at her mother's photo on the memorial wall. It was surrounded by thousands of others now, beings who were remembered and mourned properly for the first time in their species' histories. We did it, Mom, she whispered. We taught the universe to cry. And more importantly, we taught it to comfort. The cubs gathered around her as they did every night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new species to teach, new griefs to process. But tonight they were together. A human janitor and 8 alien cubs who'd rewritten the laws of evolution with nothing more than toys and tears. The greatest revolution in galactic history hadn't started with weapons or technology or brilliant strategy. It had started with a woman crying for her mother and cubs who knew, instinctively, that sadness should be met with kindness. Guards had found her crying alone. But she'd never be alone again. And neither would anyone else in a galaxy that had learned the greatest truth of all. Sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe is a small creature offering its favorite toy to someone who's sad. Sometimes strength means being vulnerable enough to cry. And sometimes, evolution's greatest leap forward comes from 8 cubs deciding that a crying janitor needs their treasures more than they do. The war against emotions was over. Empathy had won. And it had won the way all the best victories happen. Not through force, but through the simple act of sitting with someone in their pain and saying, "You're not alone." Lily smiled as she finished mopping the last section of floor. Tomorrow she'd do it all again. Clean the station, comfort the grieving, teach the young that feelings weren't the enemy. But tonight, surrounded by her cubs, she allowed herself one more tear for her mother. A tear that had started a revolution. A tear that had taught predators to purr. A tear that had proved love was the strongest force in the universe. Thank you, Mom, she whispered, for teaching me it's okay to cry. The cubs curled closer around her, their purring filling the room with the sound of evolution itself. The sound of beings choosing love over fear, compassion over conquest, connection over isolation. And in that moment, in a storage bay on a space station, surrounded by alien cubs who'd brought their toys to cheer her up, Lily Chen knew the truth. Her mother's death hadn't been the end of something. It had been the beginning of everything.